Good evening. This is the December 18th meeting of the Revere City Council Zoning Subcommittee. We have several items on our agenda this evening. The first I'll start with the members on our committee. Councilor Keefe, Councilor McKenna, Councilor Powers, Councilor Rotundo is absent, and Councilor Zambuto. We're also joined by Councilor Patch. There are several items on our agenda this evening. The first is, do you hear a weird echo? C17-14, and this is for 6 to 8 Garfield Ave. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this? Any members of the committee?
Did the developer come? They're not here?
She's not here.
Oh, okay. I just have one thing to say. I mean, if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't say it at all, so I'll keep it to that on this point here.
Well put, Councilor. I will add there were several recommendations by site plan review, but after the last zoning subcommittee meeting and as well as the council of whole meeting, it was the committee's recommendation not to vote this out favorably based on several things. Primarily parking is a concern, and the legality of the parking spots that were on the side of the building, as well as safety for how many units are actually in that building. There are just a lot of unanswered questions that the council did not feel comfortable moving forward on this. So this will be voted out unfavorably this evening to the council as a whole. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Next we have calendar item C17-15 for 542 Beach Street, Revere.
Good afternoon, Attorney Laureen Scatino here on behalf of the owner, Leon Gezpens, for 542 Beach Street in Revere. We're here today to change the occupancy from 6 to 8 units at this location. This location, unbeknownst to my client, he's purchased the building in 2014 as an 8-unit building. It's been assessed as an 8-unit building for as far back as I can see in the records. We were supplied lead certificates for 8 units, and the fire department had issued certificates of compliance for 8 units on this building. So at this point, we are asking to change that occupancy to the 8 units. The violation that we have is for parking. However, my client also owns 536 Beach Street, and there is parking available at that site. Not all of the tenants in the building have vehicles at 542, and we are willing to use that site to have off-street parking as well. And with that, I can take any questions.
Perfect. There were 4 recommendations of site plan review. Did you have any questions or concerns with any of them, or did you receive those?
I didn't receive any.
Okay. I will read them just so you have them, and Madam Clerk, perhaps we can forward them a copy. The first is that each of the 2 additional units be converted into 2 separate 1-bedroom units. Second is the special permit shall be subject to the review and approval by the fire department to bring the entire building up to fire safety codes. Third is that the special permit shall be subject to the final construction plan review for code compliance of the entire building to be performed by the building department code compliance officer to bring the entire building in compliance with plumbing, electrical, and building codes. And finally, in accordance with section 17.47, the zoning ordinance, the special permit is subject to the participation of the Community Improvement Trust Fund, in which 3% of the construction costs of the 2 additional 1-bedroom units be paid into the Community Improvement Trust Fund prior to the issuance of a building permit. So we'll get a copy of those to you. Did you have any questions?
No, thank you. My client fully intends to keep that building up to building code and will provide any access any of the departments need.
Perfect. So this will be voted out by the committee with site plans recommendations. Any members of the committee have any questions? Councilor Zambuto.
I'm not normally inclined to support these things, but I've looked into this one, and I think under the circumstances, it certainly has the merit for me to vote for it, especially with the additional parking guaranteed at the next door building or whatever it is. So I'm going to support this, and I hope my colleagues do. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. We're also joined by my colleague, Counselor Guanasso. Are there any other councilors in the committee or out of the committee that have any questions? Seeing as there are none, I move to vote this out favorably with the conditions of site plan to the council this evening. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. So that
Thank
will be recommended out favorably. The next item on the agenda is C-17-16, Yeaman Street Investment LLC, and this is regarding 14 Yeaman Street. Attorney Rhodes?
Second. Good afternoon. Corey Rhodes with D'Ambrosio Brown LLP, 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere. I represent the applicant's Yeaman Street Investment LLC. We're seeking a special permit to construct a beautiful new 3-story structure with 22 small apartment units and 4 commercial spaces. This is a property that has apartment use already allowed in it, but it is the existing structure there is a non-conforming structure, and we think this is a better use for the property and really ties into the buildings downtown and is in a key location for improvement. This project will also increase the commercial tax base, bringing these 4 new businesses to the downtown area, and also activate the sidewalks for greater pedestrian use. In regards to parking, this location is adjacent to 3 major bus lines, the 116, the 117, and 119. There are transit options available at this site. And even a little further down the road, the Silver Line on Broadway gives you a direct shot into Boston. The units here are going to be marketed specifically to young professionals and people without cars. Going beyond that, the landlord is even prohibiting in the lease that any resident will not have a car registered to this address. They're knowing that there's no parking on this site and they're not going to have a car here. And I want to reiterate that these are small units. The vast majority of them are around 260 to 400 square feet. Only 4 of them are coming up to 650 square feet, which is still small. There are no 2 bedrooms, no 3 bedrooms. These are all studios and 1 bedrooms. We don't see this being a family apartment building. We see this for young professionals. There's dedicated professional management that is going to be operating this property. They have just a very good history of other buildings in the area that have this same high level of service. Finally, parking should not be an additional concern here because of the McKinley School parking lot, the municipal parking lot that's going to be opening up across the street that my client has already pledged to restripe, do some repairs, and update the ball field. This is going to be adding over 25, 30 new parking spaces for use by the entire neighborhood. It's a good project for the area. It's really being tailored to fit in with the surroundings and bringing young professionals to the area that aren't going to need cars. These are people that utilize bikes, Ubers, Zip cars. It's a new kind of a generation that is not car focused. We hope you can support this project, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Rhodes. There were several recommendations by site plan review. Did you receive a copy, and do you have any questions?
We're all set.
Awesome,
Thank you.
great. Sure. The first is street and sidewalk bond must be placed on file with the DPW to secure performance for the installation of utilities, including sewer, water, drainage, construction of concrete sidewalks and granite curbing, construction of driveways and retaining walls if applicable, and landscaping. The next is a sewer connection and water connection permit must be obtained from the DPW. The city engineer and DPW superintendent must review and approve the proposed sewer service and water service plan. Number 3 is final plan shall be received and approved by the fire department for compliance with fire safety codes. Number 4 is based on the city's sewer mitigation infiltration removal requirement, sewer mitigation fee in the amount of $31,460 for the 22 bedrooms shall be paid to the City of Revere in 2 installations, 50% prior to the issuance of building permit and 50% prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. This is based on the city's formula of 110 gallons per bedroom by 10 by $1.30. Number 5 is the installation of new concrete sidewalks is required along the full frontage of the property along Yeaman Street, along with a streetscape improvement and planting of 2 new street trees along Yeaman Street's frontage. Number 6 is bike racks and bicycle storage space shall be included within the building design. In addition, the developer shall establish a transportation demand management program, including a statement in the lease in which residents will not be allowed to have vehicles, which the attorney stated. Final elevation plans and exterior building materials shall be subject to the approval of Site Plan Review Committee. All roof and mechanical units shall include noise baffles and be screened from viewing of abutting residential properties. And finally, in accordance with Chapter 1747, this is the 3% to the Community Improvement Trust Fund. Any questions? We'll ask the ward counselor, Counselor Keith.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Obviously, this falls in my ward, and I take a large deal of responsibility in making sure that the projects that come our way are represented well, both from the residents in the area and the residents of the whole, but also from the developer. So this project has been on the table for well over a year. The first round that we went through, there were some tweaks and some adjustments made based on some of the feedback, but also based on what we all felt comfortable with, or I felt comfortable with, and the developer felt comfortable with. So after going through the long process, there were a few buckets that I put this project into with obvious concerns. The positives I started with was we were dealing with a developer that the city knows well, that has always come to the table with great projects and stood by them, not a developer that comes in and drops it in and permits it and then sells it. Stands behind his project, stands behind his neighborhood and helps support it. So when I obviously brought up to the developer that there was some neighborhood concerns, I know that you can never really get all of the areas taken care of, but I know some of the more recent conversations have been taking care of different areas of fencing, repairing walls to the neighborhood residents that would be abutting, and getting as much of their satisfaction as possible. And there is always going to be some cons to that. The other positives, as the attorney had mentioned, is for the entire neighborhood, the addition and the assistance with the municipal lot would obviously not just provide potential parking for that area, but parking for the whole. That's also going to help the downtown Broadway area, which I'm most concerned with, because we have a downtown Broadway that I want to see more people coming to on a weekend, stopping, going for a cup of coffee, getting a sandwich or something to eat. I know we have a restaurant that's going to be going on that corner as well, so that municipal lot, I think, will help activate Broadway even more. And then, of course, the little adages of taking care of the basketball court is a nice one, but that didn't sway the project by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion. But the last piece is, this is a multi-million-dollar investment in that area that is mostly known for being part of Broadway. It's almost an extension of Broadway, where it comes right off of it. It's in somewhat of a downtown area that extends itself into a really nice neighborhood. So I think the addition of this project into that area of the city is going to be much more of a benefit than it would be a deterrent, or be something that would take away from the community. I think it's going to add to it very much so. So I am in favor of it. Certainly, like I said, there's going to be areas of that aren't perfect, and my hopes is knowing the developer that has a very good track record, that will stay on top of the things and make sure that everything's done well in satisfaction to the entire neighborhood. So I am in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McKenna.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a couple of questions, Corey. You said there was a restaurant that was coming into the commercial aspect of it. Could you tell me, do you have a restaurant that is coming in, a name or?
I think right now they're just looking at a number of different tenants. It's still early stages to get approved and built, so I think it might be hard to sign up a specific tenant at this moment.
Right, and how big would that restaurant be?
Each of the commercial spaces are, I believe, 700 square feet, but they can be combined if they get the right tenant to,
Right.
put a bigger business in.
And the municipal parking across the street at the McKinley School, so you're going to keep the basketball courts and you're going to upgrade them, but how many parking spaces do you think you'll be able to get
I
when you?
think by our very rough estimates right now is going to be somewhere in 25 to 30 spots.
Okay. All right, that's all, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Zambudo?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I watched this develop, and I want to congratulate everybody involved. That's from the ward councilor to the developer to the neighbors that participated. There's a lot of compromises made here. I think what's happened here now is that, the first thing everybody wants to do is say, oh, no more apartments, and not look at the existing conditions and whether something is an improvement to the neighborhood, and that's kind of what I'm all about. I want to know what the end result is going to be. I don't want to say there's a rooming house there now, but what this finished product is going to revitalize a section, and like the counselor from the Ward 4 said, it is an extension of Broadway. And we always take the developers that have a track record on their word. There was a building right at the corner there that this developer redeveloped and cleaned up. And I don't want to get into who was in there and what was in there. I'm sure I'll be accused of discrimination of some kind but there was a lot of illicit stuff going on there. That's all I'll say. There was some things that we don't want in the city there, and he cleaned that up. So I have complete confidence, but I did like the process of going back and forth, downsizing it, making it fit, getting the parking. Even though there's not going to be any cars in that building, somebody will visit them and have a car. It's all a good thing, and so all the compromises worked well, and I'm comfortable supporting this. So all I can say is congratulations to everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Patch?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As my colleague said, this has been going on for quite a while, and it's been, I think it's been decreased, the rentals by 11 units have been removed. I also agree that this is an extension of Broadway. If people can remember back on Foster Street when they built the bank there, and a couple of houses had to be torn down for the parking lot, and it's a very similar situation. And it turned out it was been used for commercial use, and it's been good for the city. I also had a problem with the parking. I have seen a copy of the lease, and in the lease it says that no tenant can have a motor vehicle. I would also like to, if I could, add to this, I don't know if it's possible, Madam Chairman, but if Yeaman Street ever goes to residential parking, if we could state that this building could not have get residential parking. Is that still possible to do? I'll leave it up to the attorney.
I think that'd be fine with my clients.
Madam Chairwoman, through you to Council Patch. I did speak to our parking director and mentioned that as a potential stipulation when I was talking with the attorney about having no making sure the leases were stated no vehicles to be leased to the area. And the parking director did mention that they could probably make that happen where they wouldn't issue permits to that address. So
Okay.
that would really alleviate it.
Okay, that'd be great, because I was a little concerned about the parking with the commercial side of it. That one, and we're now opening up the old McKinley School parking lot. You know, that can handle, again, this is a part of Broadway. And, you know I'm going to get a lot of static from some people over that, but if you go to any city, Malden, Chelsea, you name the city, Everett, all the side streets off of Broadway are a continuation of the main street of Broadway. We stress for our commercial, we are lucky. If you look at Broadway right now, this developer did a great job in correcting that. You mentioned the problem on Eamon Street in Broadway. I mean, I know how bad that building was, because I got calls when I was a police officer to go to that building many times. And also, he improved my dear friend the Paladinos. He bought their building on the corner of Pleasant Street in Broadway, and he did a great job in developing not only the apartments upstairs, but the looks of the building. We don't have any. Some cities you go to, small businesses are vacant. We have a very high capacity on Broadway here, and they could use. I think they'll have no problem developing this building. And I just, I just think that this is the right building and for this spot. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Initially, I had looked at this project with some grave disdain. The number of units frightened me when we talked about no parking. And then I look at what the developer did on the corner of Pleasant Street and Broadway. I look at the building down on the Home Street, North Shore Road, which is, I happened to pass by it again last evening, and it's a very handsome building. There's no question about it, compared to what was there, a vacant lot. I think that, even, I'll take another one that the developer did, was down on American Legion Highway, the corner of Revere Street. The building was vacant for such a long time. And the thing that I'm happy with is the fact that this building is part of the downtown business district. You can't say it isn't. I mean, you walk up just right around the corner on Broadway, which is probably 35 or 40 feet from this potential structure, is it's business. There's a barber shop there. There was a grocery store there for years. There's several businesses there. So it is part of the downtown business district. The lack of parking, that frightened me tremendously until I heard the part of the lease agreement that no one is going to own a car there. And I would, whether that's, you can do that after somebody moves in there, I don't think so. I think it has to be part of the lease agreement to make it legal. You know, you're leasing an apartment without parking, and that would hold up in court, I believe. It's an area that looks terrible right now. And the other thing that I'm concerned with and happy about is the McKinley School parking lot, part of it used for parking. We could probably use some of that for City Hall too at times. I would hope that the developer would understand, and I'm sure he does by putting that in the lease agreement, that should we at some point have to use that McKinley School, we would, for parking, or the school itself, or something else going in there, that would be part of that structure. So I'm going to throw caution to the wind this evening, and I'm going to support this, because I went by there the other day, actually, and I looked in the back, and, people are talking about the property right up to the yard. I mean, there's high walls there. The properties that are there now are higher than Yeaman Street, considerably higher. So I don't think that's an issue. I think the only issue that I saw here was parking. I understand these are going to be all one-bedroom units, is that correct? So that satisfies my concern with more children moving into the school system, because we're already heavily impacted. In fact, I have a document here that out of all the schools in the school district, the Paul Revere School is probably the one that's overcrowded. And that concerns me. But the other schools, as far as I'm looking at this document from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts School Building Authority, they're not overcrowded, those other schools. So I'm going to support this evening. I know the ward councilor, Councilor Keefe, has done some extensive research on the project, and I'm going to go along with this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Welcome. Final comments from Councilor Patch.
Thank you for the, let me speak again, Madam Councilor. But I just, one thing I forgot was that, Councilor, if you could, this has already been before the zoning Board of Appeals, right?
Correct.
And actually, there was a number of variances that were, that they approved. And if you could tell the people what we're left with, what we're actually voting for right now. All the variances about height and distances
Correct.
have been approved by the zoning board.
All those
that's off the
dimensional
board for
approvals,
us.
correct. Those were all approved on Wednesday.
So what are
by the
we
zoning
actually,
board. This is for this apartment use at this property, for this number of apartments.
okay. And this has already been, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry, this has already been approved several years ago.
Correct. It is
For multiple use.
correct. Not to interrupt you. I believe it was in 2005 or so that it was approved for apartment use on this site. This is for this particular building, this particular number of units, all these one bedrooms and studios.
Okay. Because I have a letter here from, that went before the zoning board from the Director of Economic Development, Bob O'Brien, strongly supporting the project and what it means to the city of Revere as far as financial gains and what have you. And so, again, I'm going to go along with the ward councilor and the administration and vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, Counselor. If I may speak from the chair quickly, Counselor Keefe and Counselor Patch stated a lot of my thoughts for this project, but I will say that, these are the developments that benefit the city in terms of being mixed use, and this developer and this group has a history of building mixed-use developments in the city that have commercial and retail space that our city really does need, and they're familiar with the city. They have developed other parts of Broadway beautifully, And often, these developments have been catalysts for the communities that they're in. So it's developments like these that have the ability to spark the good commercial development that we need in the city. And small steps like this are what we need to attract more businesses and more things in the community. So the fact that parking is essentially banned in their lease to have a car is a huge benefit for our city. The fact that there is parking for the commercial space at the McKinley School is a huge benefit, and overall, just the track record, I think, speaks volumes to the project. So I will also be speaking favorably for it this evening. At this time, we'll recommend to vote this out favorably to the City Council as a whole, with the conditions of site plan review and Councilor Patch's recommendation regarding the future of resident parking to exclude this development from any resident parking permits. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. This will be recommended favorably. The next item on the agenda is calendar item C-17-17, 320 to 329 Revere Beach Boulevard. Attorney Simeoni?
Good evening, Madam Chairperson, members of the Zoning Subcommittee of the City Council. We continue to have some issues that we want to work on this development. Specifically, we met with the Board of Directors of the St. George last week, made some gains there. We'd probably like to tweak a little bit of the building. There'll be some changes in, I think you'll see building materials and colors specifically, along with some other things that we're working on. At this point, we would ask the committee to, this matter remain in committee, and that the new council pick it up in January.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone on the committee have any questions, comments, concerns? We will leave this in committee. The next item on the agenda is calendar item CZ 17-05, Title 17 of the revised ordinances of the City of Revere and the zoning map provided by Section 17.12.20 of said title, hereby amended to change the zoning district designation of the property known and numbered as Lot 120 American Legion Highway at 448 American Legion Highway from residential B to general business.
To the Chair and members of the Zoning Subcommittee, good evening. Joseph Cottogio, 1 Sprague Street, Revere, representing the applicant seeking a zoning change to a single lot from residential to commercial to, as I had indicated before, correct an incorrect zoning designation for a lot that currently holds half of a commercial building, is taxed as commercial, and is attached to a long strip of 9 adjoining lots that are also commercial. We have, as required, been before the Planning Board. I believe you'll note that there was a unanimous decision there. We've also had discussions with the ward councilor in which we had represented that we will offer a neighborhood meeting once the zoning is set and plans are then brought forward for whatever proposal the new owners will make. But at this time, we're just seeking to correct the zoning for that single lot. I'm hopefully here to answer any questions you might have as well. Thank you.
I will note that we do have a letter from the planning board that this was voted out favorably with their recommendation as well, so I'll just put that on the record. Any members of the subcommittee have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing as there are none, we will vote to move this favorably before the council as a whole. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. The last item on this agenda for this evening is calendar item CZ 17-06, repeal of recreational marijuana zoning ordinance. Any members of the committee? I believe we've had several lengthy discussions about this. We left it in committee, so our colleague, Councilor Keith, could be involved because we know that he definitely was vocal on it and supported it. So, Councilor?
Madam Chair, thank you. This is, again, this is more of just a cleanup with the zoning change or the ordinance change. As you know, it needs to go through a certain number of levels, and we've talked about this in the past where when the city's going through these types of changes, there's a lot of crossing Ts and dotting Is that come along with it. The gist of it happens to be that as a community, we spoke up and decided that recreational marijuana wasn't for the city. More so, not to say it's the worst thing in the world. In my opinion, I don't like it very much, and I don't think I think that we have a significant image problem in our city that we need to continue to address. So this was a step for me. Also, being a parent, and I'd like to consider myself somewhat of a leader in the community with children in youth sports. I think that it sends the wrong message to our children. I'm not suggesting that if you're 45 or 50 years old, you can't do what you want to do, or 21 years old, you can't do what you want to do. I'm more so invested and interested in what the messages we send to our children. So this has gone through a lengthy process. I'm very happy that we've worked out all the kinks, and we've gone to this point where we're going to be able to repeal the sale of recreational marijuana within Revere. Obviously, there is one site that has already been approved for medicinal marijuana that will be able to get this one piece down on Railroad Ave. And I'm not suggesting that we stand in that way, but I just wanted to make sure that we got through this as a city, and I appreciate everyone's support on making this happen, because I think in this case, we answered to what the polls showed, and Revere voted against it. So I'm happy that this is going to come out hopefully favorably tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? I move that we vote this out of committee favorably. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Sure.
My name's Joe Coco. I live at 36 Sayre Street. I live right next to the beach. I sat here when the proposal for the condos, the apartments, right in back of the Cove area, right along Ocean Ave. I sat here and I listened to them tell the council about all the parking they were going to have for the cars. I am so sick, and I'm not saying that I'm against anything here tonight. I'm just saying I'm so sick of people coming up here saying to you people that I want to build. I know I had my family build 2 houses in this city. And when I built, there had to be two cars per unit. If you didn't have the parking, you didn't build it. That's when we built. The thing is, the law, as far as I understand, the law still applies today. If you're going to build a 2-family, you got to have two cars per unit. Otherwise, we're going to have cars all over the place, such as there is on Ocean Ave. If you drive Ocean Ave at night, drive there at 10 o'clock at night when everybody's home, the cars are lined up all the way down past the train station. Why? Because the owner who said he had enough parking, there was going to be enough parking for them units, they have to pay for the parking. So now, instead of paying for the parking, they pay on Ocean Ave. And nobody's doing anything about it. There shouldn't be any parking on Ocean Ave from them units. And that was a big mistake. And everybody should look back into it, because it was all approved. And I imagine it had to be approved because they said there was going to be enough parking. And there isn't. And somebody should come down on them. Either they give their tenants the parking for nothing. They shouldn't charge them what the tenant's paying for the apartment, and now they have to pay for the parking or put it in the street. No, that doesn't go. But it seems now that it goes in our city. I mean, things are getting out of... I'm going to tell you something. I wish I had the money. I think I could build in the middle of Broadway. I mean, this is how it's getting to be. They're building everywhere in this city. Wait till they're all done. Wait till the beach is all done. I feel bad if one of us got a parent that's in the Satter House. I mean, come on. The ambulance, I live down there, I see it. You ever see the ambulance try to get down there in the summer? While the person's dying, waiting to get to the hospital? It's not fair. And these buildings aren't even done yet. 3/4 of them. So, I mean, somebody's got to do something about this. There's too much building in this city. It seems like all these people that want to come in and build these matchboxes, God forbid one of them goes up on fire. You saw what happened everywhere else in Quincy, in Roxbury. They go up like a matchbox. And there's going to be a lot of lives lost. But that's the way they're built today, because it's cheaper, and everybody's making money on it. So that's why they let them build that way. But I'm just saying that if you're going to allow a building to go up, and I'm not saying this one comes with a contract that you can't have a car. This looks like a good project. But if you're going to have a building go up, make sure there's enough parking for 2 cars per unit. That's all I'm asking. Don't leave the cars on the street. And you know what? I think everybody should think about easing up on the building in this city. It's nice to bring a business in the city, but we got enough apartments. Our school system, which 3 years ago I think it was probably the best. And it's going to go down because we're going to bring these apartments in that you know it's going to rent out, what they're going to rent out to. They're going to say they're going to rent out to nothing but professional people. Once it's built, everything's changing. So I'm just saying 2 things. Let's think about any more buildings coming up in this city, these multi-buildings that these people with money want to come in and make nothing but money out of the city while they're living in Linfield somewhere in their big home. And number 2 is, if you're going to allow something, make sure there's parking, unless it's a project like this. Make sure there's enough parking. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will just say that one of your points with the charging for parking, that's something that Councilor McKenna and as well as some of my colleagues have mentioned in past meetings, and that's something that we found unacceptable up here, that I know Councilor McKenna brought up for the last couple of proposals that came before us to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because it's not acceptable that, you know, they say, yes, we have the quota, but we're going to charge everyone an additional fee, because people don't want to pay, and they're not going to.
I sat here through the meetings, and I watched the guy come up here saying, oh, we got parking for every one of these cars. There's not going to be anybody parking on the street. Well, all he is, just drive by there 11 o'clock at night. Look at all the cars.
Council?
To your point, sir, I agree with you. But as we were outsmarted, and now going forward, as Councilor Janino said, we're going to try not to have these developers come in and charge for parking so people can park on the street and they don't have parking in their homes. So that's something we are going to work on, because we don't want a situation like Ocean Ave to happen again.
Let me ask you this. Can't something be done about that? Can't sanctions be brought against them?
Yes, sir. I think we could do something. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I think we can do something. So going down the road, I think we can do something, because we do have to eliminate. There's a hotel coming in and a couple of other things, and we just can't have parking on the street
Right.
like that. We just can't.
I mean,
So
if you're going to build, have the right amount of parking,
Right.
that's all.
Thank you.
I agree with you,
And
sir.
not have a guy come in like he did. I was sat here. I sat through the meetings, because I was against it.
right.
I sat here through the meetings, and the guy said, oh, we got parking for
I
everybody.
think we're outsmarted. I really
Yeah.
do. So
Just
going
maybe get
forward,
together
we'll
and do
be
something
more
about it.
cautious. Definitely.
But maybe get together and do something about it. Bring sanctions against them.
Sure.
Do something.
It's in conversation. It really is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both, and hopefully this is something we can work with the city and the DCR to come to a conclusion. This concludes the zoning subcommittee for this evening. We'll have a brief recess, and at 5 o'clock, there is a presentation in memory of former council president and former mayor Bob Hass. Thank you.